Heat 100 Radio, Sports Rack Radio Show. And it is now time to get into our Eagles picks. And we are going to discuss some of these picks. And of course, we are going to talk about the second pick, the number 53 overall pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, which has been the talk of the town the entire weekend. Even with them allegedly picking up or making up for the draft or that pick, as people say, making up for that pick, that questionable pick throughout the remainder of the draft, that is still the burning topic. So I'm going to give you their picks real quick. Again, number one, first round, number 21, pick Jalen Reagor. Mike Rudder, thanks for tuning in. Los, what's going on, bro? Rich, get ready, Rich. I know you got some stuff, so I'm waiting. Whenever you're ready, you can bring it. Pick number second round, number 53, the big question, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. In the third round, pick number 103, which came in a trade. They taken Davion Taylor, linebacker, an undersized linebacker out of Colorado. Number four, in the fourth round, they picked 127, Kavon Wallace, the safety out of Clemson. Fourth round again, pick number 45, Jack Driscoll out of Auburn, the offensive lineman. Number 168 in the fifth round, John Hightower, wide receiver from Boise State. In the sixth round, number 196, Sean Bradley, the linebacker out of Temple. The sixth round again, number 200, Quez Watkins out of Southern Mississippi, the wide receiver. Also, at 210 in round six, Prince Tega Wanoga, offensive tackle out of Auburn. And round seven, 233rd pick, Casey Toohill, the linebacker out of Stanford. So, one of the things that I need to discuss is right away the number two pick, the pick in the second round, number 53, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts from the University of Oklahoma, who also played at the University of Alabama. So, a lot of questions about this pick. A lot of questions about this pick here. So, the Eagles picked a quarterback in this draft, in this high of a pick as well, number 53, the second round. And if this quarterback is not going to be the quarterback that's going to step right in and play for you, that's a little high to take a guy who is not truly ready for the NFL game right now. Has a lot of qualities, of course, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see if or how that fits in. Now, Jackie Bridges, what's going on? Now, immediately watching the draft, and I hear this pick, and of course, I get a little buzz beforehand from people leaking out that they're going to take Jalen Hurts, and I'm expecting maybe another wide receiver that we like, the Denzel Mims, to go at that point, because I'm watching and I see Denzel Mims is lingering around. He's falling. He could possibly be had at number 53, and he was not had by the Eagles at number 53. So a lot of people have the initial question is, why do you draft a quarterback this high? Then it goes into, why do you draft a quarterback in this draft? You just gave Carson Wentz, your franchise quarterback, $100+ million guaranteed. So he is the quarterback of the future for the franchise. Then you get into this weird, strange quote that Howie put out, that the Eagles are wanting to be or are a quarterback factory. Dana, thanks for tuning in again. Now, being a quarterback factory, I got some questions, got some issues about that. Where can you prove to me, where can you show me any facts, any stats, any logistics that you have been a quarterback factor. I haven't seen it. I'm sure a lot of the fans haven't seen it. So I don't know where Howie came up with that comment. Uh, it's really strange. And again, we will probably never know the deep down inside true facts or ideals of why they picked Jalen Hurts at number 53. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like the kid. I like the way he played in college. But again, there's always that transfer factor. And I still don't think that he should have been picked that high. He's the type of quarterback that you could have possibly got maybe third round, fourth round to be your backup quarterback. That's usually where you get your backup quarterbacks, third, fourth, more so fourth, fifth round, somewhere around there is where you pick up a backup quarterback if that quarterback's going to be your backup. But getting back to Mr. Hurts, um, immediately, and you could possibly say a knee-jerk reaction in my thought process and trying to prepare myself for a lot of the commentary and a lot of the questions that I would probably get about that pick. My first thought process immediately was the Taysom Hill situation down in like the Taysom Hill situation down in New Orleans. Problem becomes Taysom Hill was I guess you could say freak of nature for lack of a better phrase. He was undrafted and he proved to be very viable in their offensive scheme. I don't know if it'll work out the same way with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I know Doug does have some trickery in his repertoire. He does. We all know that he does like to take chances on fourth down. You could possibly use Jalen Hurts as a weapon in the red zone as well, but it's still all of those positives. You still have that question mark as to why you picked him in the second round with the number 53 pick when you still needed wide receiver, still needed help in your defensive backfield. Now, you pick that up a little bit later on in the draft. Hence, in the fourth round, you take Kavon Wallace, the safety out of Clemson, what I think was a solid pick. The critics gave that pick an A. By the way, they gave the Jalen Reagor pick a B, and this Jalen Hurts pick was a C plus. I think they were being generous with that C plus. I also question they're giving this A to Davion Taylor, who is an undersized linebacker, more fitting to possibly be a hybrid safety. Okay, but again, the two picks I think that are really good so far are the number Jalen Reagor, because you address speed as an outside receiver, and then comparing him to Justin Jefferson. I would have liked Justin Jefferson as well, but Justin Jefferson is looking like he'll be pegged more as the slot receiver. The Eagles needed help on the outside. They needed that speed on the outside to help Carson Wentz to have weapons down the field. They addressed some needs on the offensive line again in the fourth round with Jack Driscoll, who's 6'5", 306, which I think is a good pick. He got a B minus. Then you address the wide receiver again, John Hightower out of Boise State, a wide receiver, 6'2", 189. He's given an A. They were given an A for this pick. He's got the size. Now you have another receiver that you could possibly plug into the slot. He also has some speed on the outside, so we'll see. I think, again, Devon Taylor was got because of his speed. I think the Eagles are trying to become a more speedy team, so that's where they're going at with this. I like this pick. Sean Bradley, the linebacker out of Temple, is a B minus. Another wide receiver, Quez Watkins, out of Southern Mississippi, a wide receiver who's 6 foot, 185. He has question marks, so he got a C plus. The next pick, the Prince, the offensive tackle, he got an A. And then the linebacker, which I think is also a good pick, and he's got the linebacker size. Casey Toohill, a linebacker out of Stanford, standing at 6'4", weighing in at 250. Again, the Eagles made a trade with some draft picks, and they got moved around in the draft, and they picked up Marquise Goodwin, another guy who has speed if he can stay healthy on the field, which should help the Eagles' offense. It should help Carson Wentz, give him another weapon. Um, in this, I have to do this again real quick. I did it on my feed and Facebook, but again, since I'm live and I know people are watching, people are tuned in, again, shout outs and congratulations to Philly's own DeAndre Swift, the running back out of Georgia, who was taken 35th, taken with the 35th pick overall to the Detroit Lions. So congratulations to him as well. Also, the Eagles have brought in or signed or agreed to terms temporarily with 12 undrafted free agents. I think they addressed needs with these particular free agents. They have another D-back, Graylin Arnold out of Baylor, another wide receiver, Manasseh Bailey from Morgan State, another offensive lineman, a guard actually, Julian Good-Jones out of Iowa State, another D-back, Michael Jacquet from Louisiana, center on the offensive line, Luke Juriga from Western Michigan, which is a good pick, as well as the center that the offensive lineman that they took earlier, actually in the draft. Another running back, which they needed. They didn't address that in the draft, but they needed to address the running back situation. Adrian Killins out of University of Central Florida. Another linebacker, Dante Olson out of Montana. Two more D-backs, Elijah Rowley from Army and Prince Smith from New Hampshire. A tight end, Noah Togai out of Oregon State. Another running back, Michael Warren out of Cincinnati. And defensive tackle, Raekwon Williams out of Michigan State. So those are your Eagles picks. Those are the undrafted free agents that were signed. And again, I'm still waiting for people, and I'm sure I'll probably get stuff after the show is over. Again, this second round pick, like I said, it's been the talk of the town, and it still doesn't really make sense to me. Like I said, I can come up with stuff just sitting thinking about it, about ways that he can be used. But again, it's just where you picked him. It is the biggest issue. The last two picks at number 53 for the Eagles were ironically Miles Sanders and LaShawn McCoy. We know how those guys played out, but that's not necessarily saying that this number 53 will pan out the same way. Again, you drafting this guy with this high of a pick, you can also put out the argument and you can start the topic for discussion that they may possibly not think that Carson Wentz is going to hold up, or what are they going to do if he holds up? They still have Nate Sudfeld, who they re-signed, who really hasn't seen the field. Maybe they're telling us that, or they're tipping their hat in their hand and saying that they're a little uncertain, a little unsure about Nate Sudfeld. And getting back to that quote with Howie saying that quarterback factory, I don't see it. You got to give me some stuff, some stats or whatever to show me that's what you're doing, because I don't see it. I mean, last year you were in the playoffs, barring the injury to Carson Wentz against Seattle, with a 40-year-old commentator who you brought out of the booth as a backup. If you needed a backup quarterback, you could have got a backup quarterback via free agency. I mean, like I just mentioned this morning, Jameis Winston is now finalizing a contract with the Saints. Joe Flacco is still floating around. There are veteran quarterbacks that could have been had in that realm, as opposed to you taking that number 53 pick and picking Jalen Hurts. Again, no disrespect to the kid. I like the kid's game, but it's just a question of why was he taken so high at number 53? And I don't think we will ever get a solid answer on that question. Definitely not from Howie. Definitely, more than likely, not from the overall organization. But all in all, I think the Eagles did do some okay things in the draft. Like I said, that pick is the major head scratcher, it's a shame because they did some good things later on in the later rounds, but this one particular pick is overshadowing their entire draft. So it's kind of blurred, it's kind of skewed, and you could say that they did okay, you could say that they did fairly well, but again, it's all going to revert back to that second round pick at number 53, where there will be questions from now to wow. I mean, it's a stretch. It might be questions from now until if or when he ever gets to play, or if or when, however, he's used in that offense with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, you know, it's tough. It's always tough. It's always a lot of speculation. I think, as my guy Richard Drummond posted on one of my comment on one of my posts, and I kind of agree with him in what he said. And I'm just giving you my version of what he said, not actually quoting him, but he mentioned that how he needs to go back and have someone like Joe Douglas around. I kind of am now agreeing with that because I think you need that personnel person to help you out on some of the things. Like, you can see things, and that personnel person could probably mold you better, or hold your hand and guide you a little bit better, as opposed to what you see as just a GM. Because the personnel guy is really more in tune with the players and what's going on with the team activities as far as play calling and schemes and other things of that nature. So you kind of need that football guy in your corner, for support to help you along the way. As I think that was something that they had in support in doing in drafting the second half of the draft, the next 2 days, because if you looked at it on paper, you can very easily bring up the argument that they picked it up in the second half. After that second round, third through seven, that they picked it up. I mean, they did some wheeling and dealing. They got moved around in the fifth round. They moved around in the sixth round. They got back into the seventh round with another pick. So, you can kind of give them, I guess, a C plus overall. And again, it's all because of the number 53rd pick, which a lot of people are still questioning as to why you took a quarterback that high in the draft when you had positions available for other needs that you had. Like, you gave Carson Wentz 100 million plus guaranteed to be your franchise quarterback, so you didn't really have to rush and get a quarterback. I don't think there was that much buzz around Jalen Hurts where you couldn't have gotten him in a later round in the draft. So we will see what happens with these Eagles picks, and what will happen if and when we get football. Like I said, they're projecting to possibly be able to go in July, August, around training camp and OTCs and all that kind of stuff. They're looking at really, really possibly trying to get things going and get football started. So we will see um, what happens with the Eagles. Like I said, folks, this video is going to be posted, so you can leave me comments. Sports Rap Radio Show is the group. You can leave me comments there. You can get over to Instagram at sportsrap_D and leave me comments there about what you think about the Eagles. Like I said, I give them a C plus for this draft. You got any other opinions, please let me know. You know where to find me. It is 45 minutes past the 11 a.m. hour. I'm going to take another break. When I come back, I've got some other stuff to get to. We definitely are going to get to the Last Dance and talk about the finer points of episodes 3 and 4, which aired last night on ESPN. And I also have a little quick tidbit for some NBA news. So, that being said, it's your boy D, 11:45, 45 minutes past the 11 a.m. hour. You are tuned in to Sports Rap, Heat100Radio.com. When we come back, we will tell you what the NBA's current plans are right now, and we will get into The Last Dance. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you watched it. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes. It's your boy. I'll see you on the other side. I don't care who's first or who last, but I know that y'all just better rock this at the drop of a dime, baby.